Those are contestants on Jubilee's game show, Odd One Out. In this episode, 5 feminists have to identify who's pretending to fit in with them. If they vote out the mole, then they split the prize money and finally earn some dividends on their gender studies degrees. Otherwise, the mole woke fishes his way to a bag instead of a date. Let's see who wins this game of San Francisco squares.
Like, I looked over and I saw, like, not to hate anyone that wears running shoes, but, like, I saw the running shoes and I just assumed. I think that's just, like, a trope that, like, a lot of, like, anti-feminists, like, right-wingers dress more for comfort than style.
Nobody thinks that. Drag queens wear high heels, yet look too comfortable reading stories to little kids. Also, you shouldn't wear a giant vest with your arms exposed unless you're trying to float in the kiddie pool. Hopefully Sweeney's never dressed for that occasion. Besides, both of them are wearing sneakers, as is the Chungus on the left. When I look at her, I don't see a right-winger, I see a bingo winger.
Putting women in leadership at my work, all of leadership is all women.
Yeah.
And I feel the safest there compared to other workplaces where I've been kind of like duking it out with the boss man kind of thing.
I don't believe her, because punching is prohibited in sumo. Also, her shirt says women are magic. In an office full of women who never argue, that magic must be silencio.
My bosses are all women too. And
Of course.
I will say that traditionally I have had issues with women being my boss, but as
You hate to see a strong woman.
As
That's what
I've
you're
grown,
saying.
He said he had issues. That she-man wanted to dwell in the past with the dog like Sherman.
as I've grown, and educationally,
Yeah.
now that I know women's roles, and so I agree with you with that assessment that women in leadership, it is just something about it. I feel safer too.
In other words, they took a dude built like Uncle Phil and broke him down like Will Smith.
I think when people tend to use a lot of dictionary definitions, they were either studying up on it. I mean, you don't have to go Merriam-Webster on us and trying to explain it.
Here's a dictionary word, misnomer, because his name is Kenyon. Jubilee's next show should be called 5 Editors and 1 Secret Anti-Editor.
You know, Emma, she's a little too comfortable and uncomfortable at the same time, if that makes any sense.
Easy on the big words, Eric. Comfortable yet uncomfortable makes about as much sense as her testicles, but I don't mean to go Grey's Anatomy on you.
It's professional, let's be honest. If you're good, you're good. I think if a transgender woman went up to play tennis against Serena Williams, and it's a transgender woman, she'd probably more than likely lose.
At the 1998 Australian Open, 203rd ranked German Karsten Brosch beat Serena Williams and Venus Williams back-to-back. The only difference between him and a trans woman is his sanity. They weren't playing for high stakes, but Brosch outplayed them so much that when the Williams sisters issued a challenge to a male tennis player again, they revised the ranking requirement from 200 to 350. These contestants are clueless even by feminist standards. Asking them about fairness in sports is like asking trans women about period cramps.
Good luck. Thank you.
If you don't unconditionally accept trans women, then you can't be a feminist, or a judge at the Miss Universe Netherlands.
3,
That's good.
2, 1.
Let's go. Oh,
There is no mole.
Yeah, check out.
my bad.
I'm so sorry.
Sorry.
I just knew it was you.
First impressions, right?
So here's the thing. The mole actually never showed up, but we still wanted you all to play the game.
This is a good one.
The imposter missed out on an easy payday given how those brainlets were distracted by shoe choice and big words. Instead, the feminists finally achieved their dream of equal pay despite technically doing less work. They mentioned letting the enemy talk so that he can be identified. Considering how easily those morons dug their own holes, you should also never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Let's see whether those large mammals can identify each other through sound alone.
It depends what style I'm going for.
True.
Like for fitted jeans, I definitely think like Good American's my go-to. Obviously they're like on the higher end of like pricing wise, but they like make my ass look great.
Yeah, those jeans really accentuate her gunt. When Mos Def rapped about an ass so fat that you could see it from the front, this is not what he meant.
I'm still in the mentality when I was like 16, 17 and I could fit in a medium. So I'm like, oh, I can't go to the same stores. Like, I
Right.
can't go to a mall and buy clothes anymore.
So she plunders the food court. She's not too fat to shop at the mall because almost every clothing store there has a plus size section. She just can't wear her old size. She'd go right through a medium like she's trying to talk to the dead.
I'll say fat, and then people be like, "Oh my God, fat!" And then I'll be like, "It's not inherently a bad word. It's an adjective."
It's not inherently bad when describing a paycheck, but it is when describing a physique. Case in point, they spend the entire video lamenting the difficulties of obesity. Sounds inherently bad to me.
That's the thing. No, but it is kind of taboo because I was like, oh yeah, I'm fat. Don't say that, you're beautiful. I am gorgeous, but I am fat.
I didn't say I was ugly.
It's, oh my God, bro.
Sorry, I misspoke.
I was
People
like,
treat it like it's
right,
taboo, and
right.
that's
So
the issue, really.
it's two truths.
And two chins. Excess fat not only makes your body more asymmetrical and gross, but most people correctly associate it with laziness and poor health, which are undesirable as well. Whenever I hear "I'm gorgeous" from a ham planet, I remember Hamlet, because the lady doth protest too much, methinks.
I think the odd one out is probably somebody who lived as a fat person,
used to be, yeah.
but lost the weight. But usually, a lot of the times, people that do grow up fat or, you know, go through weight loss journey, they end up being more fat phobic.
The explanation is simple, V for Velveeta. When you exercise regularly and maintain a caloric deficit, you'll realize that getting in shape is not the insurmountable task that fat people make it out to be. They're just weak and prefer to make excuses. Plus, it's easier to lose weight than it is to live with the consequences of obesity. If they thought finding clothes that fit was tough, they're going to hate finding vehicles that fit their mobility scooters.
In my personal experience, people that go from being in a bigger body into like becoming skinny feel some sort of resentment, especially because I think they tie achievement to what they've done for some reason. Like there's this very big principle of like, look at what I've done, and they push this like American dream-esque mentality of like genuinely like I worked hard and I did this, and it's like, well, not everybody wants to do that.
Because they're lazy, and slow because they didn't catch him implying that they're lazy. Losing weight is a personal achievement, just like those chairs holding their weight is a manufacturing achievement.
That's fine.
Like,
that's fine. If you want to lose weight, do that. But you don't need to like project that onto everyone else.
If you quit smoking crack, good for you, but stop projecting and pass me the rock.
But it really sucked, and you know, in my own skin, I'm gonna start crying. I'm sorry. You know, like being skinny, and like now you're fat, and like everybody treats you different.
She's getting closer to her dream body. Crying does nothing, but getting on a diet and hitting the gym will pick her fat ass up like a BBL.
I definitely relate to that. I'm a bulimia survivor. I was bulimic for about 8 years. And I also played volleyball and it was in theater and stuff like that. And the only reason I stopped throwing up and binging and purging is because I was losing my voice.
When it comes to bulimia, it ain't over till the fat lady can't sing.
1, 2, 3.
I knew it.
I hope that in watching this video, somebody can learn that the horrible stereotype that they have of plus-size people, whether that be that they're lazy or sluggish or they don't eat right or they're not healthy, there are people that are plus-size that are faster than you.
Yeah, at dying. They can't beat anybody in a race, unless it's a completionist run of the Golden Corral.
I'm sorry to anybody that shared something personal and then like because of this feels like they were lied to.
I bet he apologized because he thought that one of them would be hungry and enraged enough to transition him from a small body to a large body through peristalsis. Instead of worrying about the potential lies from the mole, they should acknowledge the actual lies they tell themselves and each other about obesity. Otherwise, they'll soon be lying in another crowded room waiting to be identified. And all of that is Jalen Cheney, no relation to Dick Cheney. One is known for making a big mistake on a hunt, while the other is so big that she's mistaken for a hut. This plump bird struggles to fly long distances too, so she posted a petition demanding for the FAA to protect her and other plus-size travelers. Let's hear what this jumbo jet-setter needs to travel around the world solely because she refuses to travel to the gym.
So you want to hear my hot take on plus-size travel and why I think every plus-size traveler should get a free second and even third seat on an airplane?
Seats shouldn't be free just because you were in Free Willy. If you're too heavy to fly the friendly skies, then you should swim the 7 seas. Other options that don't involve drastic lifestyle improvements include upgrading from economy, or paying for nearby seats so that your lard overhang doesn't negatively impact your neighbors. This brings new meaning to minimizing spillover costs.
Plane seats are too small, even for the average size person.
Those seats get even smaller for the average size people who are buried under that adipose avalanche he calls a torso. Fat travelers can reduce their weight, yet complain more about airline accommodations than tall travelers who can't reduce their height. Instead of being fed up with airline policies, plus-size people should try being underfed their daily calories. Chunguses can afford to eat like Elvis, but won't pay for additional seats to contain their flab. Being fat is far more damaging than an uncomfortable seat. If she hated how her arm felt during that flight, she really won't like how it'll feel during a heart attack.
As a plus-size traveler myself, I know how uncomfortable and unsafe it can be to squeeze into a tiny airplane seat.
So she annexes multiple seats by lifting the armrest. POV, you are her armrest. She's obviously smiling under that mask, so she doesn't feel uncomfortable or unsafe. She might feel discomfort in an airplane restroom, though. It's amazing that she can even fit in one. Then again, these days she's not the only human abomination that can make its way onto a can of piss.
We are not asking for special treatment or luxury accommodations.
Just these accommodations: alternative seating arrangements, larger seats, one or more free seats, and reimbursement for additional seats purchased independently, even though they'll be flattened. She also wants priority boarding, larger bathrooms, seatbelt extenders, a more spacious customer of size section, extra mayonnaise, and improved TSA training. That training had better include sumo wrestling, because any TSA agent who has to pat down someone her size has to do the 100-hand slap. She of course doesn't explain how to fit her accommodations on a plane, or how much her sty in the sky will cost. The Simpsons predicted what'll happen when you let a gluttonous moron like her design a vehicle.
We simply want enough space to travel comfortably and safely without fear of being discriminated against because of our size. It's truly that simple.
Cut calories and exercise regularly, and you'll have more space on the plane. It's truly that simple. Until then, have fun getting stuck in your seat, embedded in your conveyance until someone removes you. That feel when the whale is now the barnacle. She discussed her petition further in other videos.
Did you know that more than 1 billion people in the world are plus size? That's roughly 13% of the population.
Despite being 13% of the population, you take up 52% of an airplane row.
And yet, many airlines still don't have clear policies in place to accommodate plus size passengers. That's why I've started a petition calling on the FAA to require every airline to have a clear customer size policy in place for plus size passengers. No one should have to endure the discomfort, embarrassment, and discrimination that often comes with being a plus size passenger trying to navigate air travel.
No one should have to endure the odor, moisture, and threat of being crushed in an emergency that often comes with sitting next to someone her size. It would be easier for Cheney to navigate air if she weren't the size of a navigator.
Let's work together to make sure that the travel industry serves everyone, not just a select few.
The select few, you mean the 87% of people who aren't plus size? Airlines sound inclusive to me, even though she probably pulled her stats out of her front butt. Plus size people are addicts, not victims, especially ones like Cheney who are privileged enough to fly around the world and vlog about it for a living. Fat people need to lead healthy lifestyles. Cheney's weight would plummet if she also got bariatric surgery, or as I like to call it, a Dumbo drop operation. If you're morbidly obese, stop complaining about travel accommodations and worry about your impending one-way trip to the hospital. All of this is Bridget Klein Simpson, who's a cheesecake away from getting on a Calvin Klein billboard. He signed up at a women-only gym in Canada, only to be banned from that facility days later and referred to its co-ed location instead. Let's hear the full story about this unholy amalgam of Chris Chan and Chris Farley.
28-year-old Bridget Klein Simpson has identified as a woman for years, and she wants to get into better shape, so she went to the Bodyworks Gym for Women in Parksville for a membership. Klein Simpson says she was initially welcomed, but after one workout she was informed she was not allowed at the women's-only gym.
In an interview, he claimed, "One of the trainers there greeted me, and she was extremely kind, and she could basically tell I was trans right away and said I would be welcome there and explicitly said I would be safe as well, even gave me a hug. No periods, like speaker, like sentence. Anybody can tell that's a man and that he'd be safe at a ladies' gym. That's like telling Buffalo Bill that he'd be safe at a plus-size photo shoot." She said she signed her membership agreement on the spot and returned Friday, having a great time as she worked out for more than an hour. There's no way that sloth worked out for more than an hour. The only power move he performed at that gym was leaving the toilet seat up.
Saying, "Sorry, we made a mistake. You're not actually allowed to be here, but you're more than welcome to use the co-ed facility." And I kind of just hung up because I was extreme.
That mellifluous voice.
Devastated. I mean, there's really no other word for it.
Cock-blocked. The gym mainly devastated his hopes of being in a women's locker room without repercussions. The trainer was probably afraid of causing a scene by addressing the 800-pound butterfly in the room, so she waited to make a phone call instead. She definitely didn't make a mistake. Girls are pretty good at picking up hints, whether from missing strawberry jam or bulging Adam's apples.
Klein Simpson changed her gender and name legally close to 2 years ago, and she's been on hormone replacement therapy for more than 3 years.
I doubt that he's been on hormone therapy for 3 years when he still looks and sounds so much like a guy, and he's probably always had those moves. It doesn't help that Klein Simpson's built like Homer Simpson if he passed on the moo-moo, and he can gain access by pressing any key when prompted to give his gender.
I didn't quite understand why that was like uncomfortable because I didn't know I was trans at the time. I still thought I was a guy as well. But
why does the reporter look like he's proposing? I don't know if I'm watching Canadian news or I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry Wachowski.
It was just important to me to like be in a place that would be like explicitly accepting, like, you know, you are a woman. You can, you know, you're allowed to be here.
You're not a woman, bro. You look like Stephen King in the fat suit from Thinner. All Bodyworks did was reject your delusions and prevent you from getting your way, no matter how much disruption you'd cause.
Klein Simpson says she understands some may be uncomfortable with trans people.
But he doesn't care. That narcissist won't even find a filming location where they can both sit. Apparently the only way to interview this MTF is to be on bended knee like Boys to Men.
And if you're still if you still feel uncomfortable after that, I mean that's on you.
Said the woman sitting like that to give his balls room to breathe. It's not our fault for pointing out the safety issues of women potentially being alone with Ray Finkel while he's tucking back Captain Winky.
She's going public because she doesn't want this to happen to other trans people. She says she's considering a complaint to BC's Human Rights Tribunal.
Until then, we have this idiot. Trans people deserve to feel safe, welcome, and affirmed for who they are. Trans women are women, period. At a time when trans people are under increased attack around the world, it's up to all of us to speak out and to help break down barriers that transgender people face. Those barriers being the ladies' room doors. Imagine seeing that lummox waddling through one. You say your girlfriend's in there and he replies,
"Hey, a lot of people's girlfriends are in there."
He did this to attract attention and gain acceptance, even though he's a big chungus who looks like he's part of an 80s rock band. Hopefully he doesn't invade other women-only gyms, or we might hear about a heavy metal guy locking a woman in a suspect embrace like an MLK statue.
Step right up here for the greatest show on earth, the Washed Up Loser Olympics 2023. Just when you thought CrossFitters couldn't look any smaller, this is actually the first stream of the games. 7 hours later, some intern moved the camera to another terrible spot and almost left a fingerprint on the lens. All that means is that no matter how long you monitor people doing CrossFit, you'll never notice any improvement.
Live from Ant Farmer's Field, I'm Asian reporter and returning champion Elgintensity.
This is the run portion of the race course. So as you see on your screen, 2,400 meters on the actual bike, 200 meters on the run. This run's going to take somewhere between, I would say, 45 to 60 seconds. 45 may be a bit aggressive on that time check.
This is just how triathletes approach the bike racks when they switch from the ride to the run. A better test would be a course that isn't so flat. Instead, we have to watch these hormone-filled weirdos struggling through transitions. Where do they think they are, a gender clinic?
One lap completed, and here's the replay of what happened.
If this event was supposed to make them look like beasts, then it succeeded, because they just grazed on the grass like free-range cows. I haven't seen someone go down so hard from a seat since the Montgomery Brawl.
Matilda Garnis, Sahir Kaya got mixed up in the turns. Oh, wow.
Then Emma off the side of the course.
After that crash, Carrie was dead meat on the field like carrion. Her only chance to come back was to go full throttle, and I don't mean speeding up.
And if you watch Tour de France or any type of road race when it comes to cycling, the hardest thing you can do is break away by yourself. And what you'd like to hope to have is maybe 2 or 3 riders with you that you can collectively work together to get away from the pack. And if you can do that, if Emily and Emma can somehow work together, they'll both benefit from that when it comes to drafting.
This is nothing like the Tour de France. This is the kiddie version of a real bike race, just like a carousel's the kiddie version of a real horse race, and you can find both at a circus. They're also moving way too slowly for drafting to come into play, but the game's commentators bring it up every time there's a bike race because of the drafts between their ears.
Now, Pat Vellner, meanwhile, has just run into just all kinds of problems here on this rope climb. That's his 3rd attempt that he has failed.
Vellner kept reaching out with one hand and choking like he was using the force. He went to Madison just for his hands to burn like he went to Mustafar.
She just kept her feet moving. She stayed low to the ground. Gazan is slipping. She lost a shoe. The shoes matter. I mean, Noble hooked them up with some cleats. I'm surprised to see them not more of them out here.
She was so close to making it out of there, but the hot pursuit ran her out of her ugly footwear like croc bra.
Head judge comes over to Gazan's lane and says, "You've got to put your shoes back on, my dear." Holy smokes.
My dear, losing her shoe during an event doesn't make her Cinderella, but the fact that she was allowed to cross the finish line without both shoes on makes the rule book a fairy tale.
Fatigue had kicked in after doing the whole weekend, but the shoulders were on fire last year, and so in order to do these rope climbs, especially with the new standard, very impressive what they're doing.
Emma Carey just got hit with a no rep. She got to the top but did not control her descent. We will see how she handles this.
Watching Carrie waste time due to a lack of energy after a long descent makes me want to rewatch Ace Ventura 2.
Chris, when you look at a 5K, obviously everyone knows a 400, they know how to pace an 800. What's the best way, in your experience, to attack this race?
They've got an opportunity for about the first 10, 12 seconds with that phosphagen energy system to really go out and get that open air. That's what you need to do, and then settle. The key in this event, you must be patient for that 60 to 90 seconds to allow the aerobic system to get warm.
That's not a pacing strategy. I don't want to hear drivel about energy systems unless it's from Chase Ingram, who was unable to commentate on day 3. He must have been very unwell, not because he had a sore throat, but because he didn't attribute soreness to lactic acid buildup for once. According to some of the competitors, they ran 2.8 miles, which is 4,500 meters. Their 5K was actually 5,000 yards. Some of you might try to cope and claim that the distance doesn't matter because they all ran the same course, but false displays of athletic superiority misrepresent how effective CrossFit is. Instead of selling programs by lifting fake weights, they're selling memberships by running fake distances. CrossFit captured the age and adaptive events with a security camera just to get caught in 4K for lying about a 5K.
6 minutes is the time cap here.
We just saw a bit of confusion there on Roman's behalf. It looked like he miscounted, started to go to his rower, had to go back to the box and do one more jump.
He didn't miscount. You can see for yourself that he did 21 jump overs. If he only did 20, then he would have landed on the same side as he started. The judge also didn't no-rep him until the end, even though she closed her hand to signal that he did all the reps. That kneeling woman screwed up a penalty by going over the goal. Who does she think she is, Megan Rapinoe?
But check on the right side of your screen, Sean. Roman Krenikov actually should be getting a top 5 finish here, so that is a great finish for what would have been a bad test for Roman.
Krenikov ended up breaking his left foot after landing on a sandbag. The recipe for success mentioned this classic scene, which, like this event, showed a king who couldn't keep up on foot after going through a wooden obstacle. In CrossFit, dirt leaves an impact on your foot. He could have avoided this by watching where he landed, which means that the lack of control over turf partially caused another Roman downfall. Krenikov didn't wear a watch, not even during the Fugazi 5K. Casio really dodged the sandbag because Krenikov is the last CrossFitter whom it would want to represent a brand of timepieces that are known not to crack when they fall. 1 foot down left his chances of winning the games 6 feet deep. When they say that sandbagging is supposed to lower others' expectations of you, this is not what they mean. To his credit, Krenikov continued to compete after his injury when he could have easily withdrawn. He came to play the games, so he saw it through to the end with 1 foot like Dr. Gordon. The US Army is also a games sponsor this year. Given the outcome of this event, I have a feeling that we're going to include some sandbags in our next aid package to Ukraine. CrossFit partnered with ESPN again this year, a move that closed the door on properly covering the age and adaptive events, hence the ring cam. Instead, ESPN had the exclusive right to stream the last event of each day. Anyone in the US who wanted to watch it live had to pay for ESPN Plus or use a VPN to watch it with international viewers. It was harder to watch the games live this year, from the platform switching to the buggy app, yet the coverage was just as bad if not worse than last year's. This partnership with ESPN makes sense though, because overpaying for a service and getting subpar results is what doing CrossFit is all about.
0! Every once in a while we make some good friends. So I'd like to dedicate this next one to a good friend of mine, Elgin Moniz, aka Trappy Davis Jr. Everybody drugs them bodies sometime. Everybody tries the gear somehow. Some Something in my lips just told me my sometime was now.